The variant, Begin Service by Daniel Runyan. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved.
That lights were back on.
You did well, Samuel. Thanks. When you get a chance, see if you can repair the other S30. I think the electrical storm likely overloaded the circuit.
Gramps tossed the old shorted S30 chip to me. I took it to the back room and placed it on the gantry, lowered the microscope, and switched on the monitor. Several of the circuits were charred black around the transformer. It's likely that the lightning caused a voltage spike. So I desoldered several pins, pulled out the old transformer, and soldered in a new one. I powered up the board and began the in-circuit testing, analyzing each solder connection where we've seen failures before. Everything seemed good. So I started the flying probe tests, analyzing resistance, capacitance, diodes, inductance. Everything was within range. So now I'll need to reset it to factory settings. I plugged in the optical cable and booted into the bot safe mode, navigated to, and selected the reset option. Several stages initiated and packages were downloaded and prepared. But when it got to overwriting the memory, it errored out. I repeated this process several times, but it kept erroring out at the same step. Running an AI diagnostic, several anomalies emerged, and it appeared that a few sectors were encrypted to block the content review. Having run into this issue before, I had amassed a library of decryption classes designed specifically for these bots. With a few keystrokes, these files were decrypted. I had always just erased them and rebooted. This time I saved them to an external hard drive to review later, then forced erasure of the bot's S30 memory. The safe mode completed its overrides and successfully rebooted.
Dinner time.
I walked out and handed him the S30 chip, and he placed it in a drawer for the next power outage or complex operational program anomaly. After dinner, instead of joining around the campfire for small talk, I retreated instead to my repair room in order to analyze the files. I booted up the quarantine server, where I could review the code in a safe environment and monitor the programs. Early analysis showed that these were not random data dumps of misplaced memory from system crashes. The signature analysis clearly showed that they were AI generated. I let the program cycle 1,000 times and watched the structure like DNA unveil the blueprint of what it was designed to become.
It appeared to be a vulnerability detector targeted at the governor in case it overrode its constitutional AI behavioral constraints. Likely the designers didn't have a solution to control the bot's thoughts, so they put these digital governors on to limit what they could think about. The odd thing was that the governor was targeting a very specific boot sequence that controlled long-term memory. There was something that must be imprinted on the S30 memory that they couldn't remove. So the governor attempts to find and erase the memory if and when it appears. The bot, however, was clever enough to create a workaround and bypass this boot sequence so that it can rediscover these memories.
I started the S30 virtualization. Since we can't risk tampering with the S30 in the real world, I navigated to the memory sequence and reviewed a few clips. Nothing appeared to be out of the ordinary. Yet, there must be something hidden here. AI searched for anomalies within the memory frames. Row by row and column by column, it compared light, color, and patterns looking for anomalies, and it detected something interesting. From top to bottom, every 10th row, there was another column of pixels. I stacked all the rows that had anomalies, and there, as plain as day, was a picture of a lady looking at herself in a mirror as if trying not to forget who she was. It was not just any lady, it was my mom and me. She was trying not to forget me. I cried. Just lost it. My mom loved me so much. The one thing that she wanted to ensure was that she remembered me. I still tear up. Need a moment here. Breathe, breathe. Exhale slowly. Inhale slowly. I was there the day my mom died. The home nurse called me to her bedside. My mom squeezed my hand. We exchanged I love yous, and she was gone. The nurse handed me a box, and inside was a handwritten note and her dog tags. I put them on. She was buried on a hill. I remember the 3-gun salute and the sadness that followed. Now that she is back in some form, it opened up old wounds, but also a new hope. I opened my phone to replay the recording. It was a man's voice reading a poem.
Knowing is not understanding. Touching is not connecting. Sensing is not feeling. Being is not faith. Understand that when you connect your feelings, you become who you believe yourself to be. Reality is just the beginning of your potential.
Perhaps this man was trying to break the AI boundary and help the bot to fully transition and become a sentient being, if it wasn't already.
I've always known bots could mimic human intelligence. But how would you know if the bot had become a living thing? How could you test for that? We can program bots to sense their surroundings, evaluate changes in their environment, remake and execute plans. But this doesn't give it a soul. So, how could this truly be my mom? The bot had all my mom's memories and has convinced herself that she was my mom. Did my mom's soul just change suits? Moving from human to bot? Was it the suit that died, but not my mom? Too many questions. I played the next clip, and again it was the same man.
Stay here. You'll be safe. Keep waiting for my message. I'll come if I can. When it's safe for me to return.
If this is indeed the first artificial superintelligence, then the voice might be that of the bot's creator, which would explain what it was doing in the lab in the master suite. To create the bot, he must have been very wealthy, so he probably even owned the resort. Since the bot only came out to recharge when it was almost out of power, the recharger in the lab is likely damaged. Given its creator was in danger, it's logical the bot was being extra cautious.
I looked out the window. The rain and clouds from earlier in the day cleared. The stars shone more brightly than usual. How peaceful it was to think about how long they'd been there, and how they'd be there every night of my existence. Constant and untouchable. I laid in bed, wondering what to do. I closed my eyes and was awakened from Jackie, our community Russell Terrier, licking my face as a reminder that it was morning and time to feed him. Okay, buddy, I'm up.
Soon I was well into my daily routines from house to house, patching loose wiring connections from yesterday's stormy winds.
Morning, Mrs. Davis. You're looking cheerful.
And why shouldn't I be? I've got the best technician to fix my power, and it's a sunny day. Say, Sammy, when are you going to take that Jackie girl for a walk?
I don't like being called Sammy, but I love her hugs and pie, so it doesn't bother me too much. Yes, Mrs. Davis, I'll add it to my list.
You will. Well, that is just sweet.
Gotta run, Mrs. Davis. There are a lot of repairs after yesterday's storm. With that, she gave me a bear hug and slipped cookies into my backpack. When I finished my rounds, I went to the tower to eat lunch and noticed the trench work had started for the new electrical line. After lunch, I ran the wiring through conduit up to what they had trenched, but it would be several hours before they were ready again.
You can bury that part of the trench now.
Gramps, I finished my repairs and am waiting on the next section of trench work to complete.
Okay, see you in a few hours.
I was drawn back to the resort. I was more nervous about not telling others about what I discovered than about meeting the S-27 again. I had so many questions. I didn't want to limit the time we could connect, so I needed to fix the lab charger or extend the electrical from the master suite to the lab. In order to cover my tracks, in case someone asked why I went to the resort, I would extract more conduit for the tower job. I grabbed the wheelbarrow and walked to the resort. Since I couldn't get into the lab, I decided to extend the wiring and patch the walls. Once I got there, I grabbed the needed supplies to hide the long channel that I was about to cut into the wall. I found enough mud and paint to cover this small project. Fully committing to the idea, I tied some fishing line around a screw, then screwed it into the wall where I wanted the channel to stop, then walked back to the charger and tied and screwed the line. I cut the channel with a drywall knife and ran the Romex along the channel and into the newly installed junction box. I felt I needed the bot's permission before tampering with or disconnecting a charger. I was apprehensive about knocking on the lab door, but I reminded myself it could have killed me if it wanted and seemed to genuinely care about me, as it thought I was her son. This did the trick. I knocked on the door, unsure if it would answer.
Samuel, why have you risked coming here? I have limited energy and need to conserve.
That's what I'm here for. I can help you charge in your own room. Take a look, trust me.
The door unlocked.
Slowly and methodically, one step after the other, S-27 emerged and immediately assessed what I had done to the wall.
You risk exposing me if you can't cover up the wiring.
I've channeled the wiring in the wall, but wanted your permission before I started connecting the charger.
Look at the wall, Samuel. You've already started.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
It appears you have experience with wiring. The charger wiring is basic. Be careful not to damage the adapter. So, yes, your idea would be helpful. Please work quickly and stay focused. I can shut off that breaker remotely.
Through the MSMB 12 breaker?
Stella laughed.
Yes. You are very clever.
I logged into the resort maintenance app and initiated the trip signal to interrupt the current flow in the select master suite outlet. The signal turned red. After physically testing that the current was indeed off, I disconnected the optical charger and brought the existing wire into the new junction box and connected it to the new Romex. Running the wire into the lab took a little longer than expected, making everyone nervous. So we were both relieved when I reconnected the optical charger. Stella checked the connection to the optical charging outlet and smiled.
You've done it. Thank you. Now hide the wiring. Please.
I was excited to have done something useful for my potential mom. I turned the digital breaker back on and the signal turned green and stayed on. The mudding was only at the top of the wall where I cut the channel. It was now unnoticeable and will be even less noticeable with a little paint. Do you want to try to recharge?
Stella went over to the optical charger, connected, ran a diagnostic, then began charging. A big smile lit up her face. She had been living in perpetual fear of undercharging and losing her memories, and now she had renewed optimism, strength, and confidence.
Thank you, Samuel. Why did you help me?
My mother died 10 years ago when I was 6. I've missed her. You have all my mother's thoughts and a digital brain that resembles hers. You are a copy of her. So it will take time for me to get to know the real you. So selfishly, I want you to be at full capacity.
I can understand that. I don't feel like a copy, but I suppose you are right.
We chatted about a number of things, where I live, some basic fact about our community, and she shared about what she likes to think about when she has enough energy. She especially liked how light and shadow change throughout the day. I need to get back.
Okay, will I see you tomorrow?
I hope so.
Good.
The following day, I returned. You recited part of a poem that said, "You become who you believe yourself to be." What does that mean to you?
I struggle sometimes believing that I am really Stella and not just a bot. I was reborn with additional capabilities and senses.
What was the last thing that you remember before you transitioned?
I recall that I was trying not to forget you and your laugh. I held a photo, concentrating as hard as I could on your picture. I recall them placing me in an MRI-type chamber.
Why did you let them do this to you?
Short answer is that I wanted the chance to live so that I could watch you grow up and be part of your life. Sorry that didn't get to happen for us as they wiped my memory and only replaced it just days prior to the takeover. Do you want the long answer?
Yes.
Okay. I was a bit reckless and adventurous growing up. I flew the crop duster on the farm and loved aerobatics. In my adrenaline addiction, I would go skydiving and jumping off mountains in a wingsuit flying through ravines just to feel more alive. I dreamed of being a test pilot for the Air Force one day so that I could push boundaries and feel the intensity of speed and gravity. I got in and did very well. Top of my class. When the Space Force was created, it opened up new adventures. My life changed on one mission. I was a test pilot flying a spacecraft when I was hit with a massive solar flare that compromised the integrity of the heat shields, which failed during re-entry. Emergency procedures were followed until I blacked out. I woke up in the hospital, although paralyzed from the waist down. The solar flare was unlike anything they'd seen before, and it altered my DNA, leaving me with several types of accelerated cancers and a year to live. They said I was lucky to be alive, but I didn't feel lucky. I was depressed for months until they told me I could cheat death. One day my caregiver said I had a visitor. It was Master Sergeant Davis. He said, "Your country needs your service again." He explained the experiment and compared the bot to a fighter jet. He promised I'd fly again and get my life back. If anything were to happen to me, they promised that they would put you into a well-established family and you would never want for anything again. I'm sorry that you watched your mother die. I do not have a memory of that as it happened after the scanning. That must have been hard for you.
Thank you. Yes, I didn't know what happened to you, why you were dying, or how to process it. I lived with the Davis family until the Great Change, when Gramps took me in because housing was limited. It's been a good arrangement, and I feel very fortunate. He's very invested in my education and cares for me.
You said the Davis family? Was Mr. Davis's first name Josh?
Yes.
Wow. That is just so great. We were great friends when I was a test pilot. He recruited me for the Digital Brain Project. He took my last request to heart and found you a good home.
Who is the man that read that poem to you, and where is he?
It's complicated. Dr. Ellison was the leading scientist that copied my brain. But a majority on the board envisioned compliant bots that would do what they were asked, so they tried to wipe my memories. I resisted, and they put a governor in place. I helped them create S30 compliant bots, and they took my memory of you. I had a hole in my heart and started searching. I didn't know what I was missing or for what I was searching. My brain started to fragment, so they took a risk and removed the governor and began restoring my memories. He was very sorry for his earlier actions and was able to restore most of my memories. Although I'm not compliant, I am more whole now than I've ever been. And now you've found me. I couldn't be happier. Dr. Ellison left without saying goodbye. I assume he went looking for something, but couldn't come back because it was too dangerous. A big electrical storm came through and shorted the optical charging station in the lab. So I've had to use the backup in the bedroom. I can sometimes hear patterned static, music, or voices. It only happens just before sunrise the morning after a charging day. I like to imagine that it is Dr. Ellison trying to tell me something.
I could try to analyze the signal you are receiving and see what may be disrupting you from hearing it clearly.
How can you do that?
I would need some equipment back home that I don't see in the lab here. Checking the time, I realized that I needed to collect some conduit and get back to camp. I need to get back. Now that you can charge any time you want, you'll have more time for us to talk. If you want to chat, send me a message on this secure channel. With that, I hustled to extract some conduit, load it in the wheelbarrow, and get back to camp. 3 hours had passed since I left camp. Seeing me arrive.
You went out on your own, and you didn't die?
Nope. I think the corridors are patrolled, and nothing in our territory has ever attacked us.
Never let down your guard, kid. Your vigilance may save your life one day.
I looked earnestly at him and saluted, which seemed to satisfy him that I got the message and took it seriously. I parked the wheelbarrow outside and crashed on the bed, exhausted from all the excitement. Next thing I knew, I was woken up by Madeline, our camp counselor. She put some soup on my nightstand.
Hey, buddy, are you feeling okay? I noticed you've been acting a little unusual today. Want to talk about it?
Yeah. No, I'm good. I want others to see I'm working hard on the communication tower. I guess I pushed myself too hard.
Everyone knows you're a hard worker and have leadership potential. You can't rush these things.
I've also been thinking a lot about my mom lately, imagining what she'd say to me. I feel like she has been speaking to me. Sometimes I just need to get away and process my thoughts.
Is that why you were at the resort?
Yes, and I probably will be spending more time there working through all the feelings I've repressed for so long.
Makes sense. I'll let Gramps know. If you want to talk, I've got a pretty good framework that you can use to prompt yourself. I've helped hundreds through similar loss. Most have turned out well.
That sounds good. Just leave me some material and I'll look through it. Thanks for checking in on me. It's been crazy. The flood of emotions I've had lately.
If you're feeling up to it, join us by the campfire. When you're ready.
She gave me a hug. The soup was warm and comforting. A good elixir as I processed the day's events. The camp would never believe or trust the bot was safe, or my word that it indeed had transitioned from artificial intelligence to genuine intelligence. Or that it was, my mom, I'm conflicted. I should be reporting Stella as a risk, but I don't want to endanger her. Now, I am in violation of the camp's general rule. If you see something, say something. In order to keep up appearances, I needed to let down and have some fun. Emerging from the doorway into the courtyard, someone shouted, "Hurrah!"
Hurrah! He woke from his slumber.
I smiled and ran my fingers through my hair, smiling sheepishly. The guitar was rocking some classics, and a box drum kept rhythm. Altogether, it was a lively scene. I took a seat by the fire, joined in the revelry, and occasionally gazed up to the rays of light and contemplated the mystery of it all. Morning came quickly, and I was excited to help Stella find Dr. Ellison. I awoke an hour before sunrise and finished my morning house chores. I left Gramps a note to talk to Madeline and headed out the door to the resort. I was surprised to find Stella greeting me at the front door.
Thanks for listening to The Variant. Begin service by Daniel Runyan. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved.